Take on Tech. Welcome to a weekly program that brings you technological issues and concepts and brings you a panel of experts to help you understand the issues in an ordinary way. The program also allows you to understand how technology affects your day-to-day activities. I will introduce the panel, but before I do that, I take you over to Jane Wamboi to give us our social media handles. Jane, over to you.
Thank you, Grace. A warm welcome once again to Take On a Tech. My name is Jane Wamboi. As always, we are glad you are with us this evening. Now, tonight, we are going to be talking about child online safety. Now, as we know the internet, it is such a wonderful resource, but if left unchecked to our children, it could be one of the most dangerous resources left at their hands. But what are some of those safety rules and protection tools that you as a parent need to employ to ensure that your child is safe when they are on the online platform? We'd love to hear from you, so why don't you go ahead and share with us your thoughts, your comments, any questions or clarifications that you may be needing from this discussion using the hashtag #TakeOnATech. On Twitter, our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. My handle is the Jane Wamboi across all social media platforms, and my colleague, she is at Grace Gedaiga. We'll be sampling your views as we proceed on with the show, but for now, I'm going to take you back to Grace to get started with this discussion. Back to you, Grace.
Thank you, Jane. I will now introduce our panel of experts and to help us understand this topic of child online safety. My first guest is Stephen Wanjuku, who is an engineer, a technology engineer at Tunapanda.net, followed by Wainaina Mungai. Wainaina Mungai is the president of the Internet Society of Kenya, the Kenya chapter. And finally, we have Nahashon Dirango, who is from Safe House, Africa. Karibuni sana to the program. We go straight on to you, Wainaina. We do know that the world celebrated the World Safe Internet Day on February 11th. Please take us through the day and why do we need to celebrate that day, and how is it related with child online safety?
Oh, thank you very much. The Safer Internet Day is a global event. It's celebrated every year, and it's done on the 11th of February. And this year around the world, there were celebrations in different countries, even in Africa. And in Kenya, we celebrated it on the 13th of February. Because of the challenges we had with the loss of our second president, so some of the ceremonies were postponed by 2 days. But the focus of the day and the theme of the day was Together for a Better Internet. The focus around that is on safety for children using the internet. Of course, safety for all of us online, but child online protection is more critical because we have a generation that has been born at a time when they are online. They found the internet, they found digital facilities ready, and they are already interacting with them without necessarily taking precautions. There have been challenges with people using the internet, be it cyberbullying, the theft of your identity, the loss of money. In some of the cases, people have been blackmailed online, or we have cases where adult content is shared to children. So one of the things we do on that day is stakeholders come together, and our Internet Society Kenya chapter, through the project that we call Safe House Africa, we've been able to become part of the stakeholders in Kenya through the Child Online Protection Forum that is housed by the Communications Authority. At Communications Authority, they host several stakeholders. We are just one of those stakeholders celebrating together and sharing ideas on how to improve safety for children online by training teachers, training parents, and making them more aware on the tools they can use and the skills they need to develop to protect children online.
Okay, we'll come back to the issue of tools and even the issue of cyber security online and how it affects children. Nahashon, what are the opportunities for children being online?
Thank you. Now, when we talk about children being online, some would argue that it's not safe. Some would say that has negative effects. But internet to the children, it has more positive effects as compared to the negative. Now, we come to online learning. It's a platform where you learn. It's a platform where children get educated more than even how you would teach them as a teacher. You see, the generation that we have of children are very curious. They want to learn more about that. But for them to learn, they go to the internet. Again, there are businesses that they can start. We have seen children, they go to video on demand like YouTube, and they learn things. They actually start businesses out of that. So children can actually, with correct supervision and guidance, start businesses. They can get a lot of content. Again, we cannot rule out the fact that social interactions on social media is also a critical tool. It's a socialization that we cannot deny children based on the fact of the negative effects. We only need the monitoring. So we can say that socialization is a critical tool that they can learn online. It's this generation that we cannot ignore the fact that we have the internet. There are so many opportunities that come. There is the issue of innovation, which we are talking as Kenyans who drive the economy. We need to expose these children in the program of digital literacy to these platforms. They can be able to interact with technology when they are young. When they interact with it, they'll have ideas to innovate. So we realize that when we expose them to technology, the innovation of this country is pushed to a higher level. We can even be, as a country, a leader in the technological industry. So there is so much opportunities, I would say, for the children. But as we are saying today, online safety for children is critical. So there are those guidelines that need to be followed as we expose them.
What sort of guidelines would you be talking about?
Now, online safety, we always say that as a parent or as a caregiver, as a guardian, there is no difference for your child protection whether they are online or offline. Now, the kind of protection that you give them, there are tools that you can use online that parents need to know. There are measures that they need to have. There is what we call self-control. Now, for example, on an issue of things like addiction to the internet, there is no tool that you can use to stop that, right? But you need to instill the discipline to the child when they are young to teach them that it's not only the internet, the other things. But
the act of balancing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on the technological side, there are things that as parents we ignore. The simple things like parental controls that may be in your smart TV that are there. You can put a child lock, although they might bypass, but it's a necessary precaution that you have to put.
Yeah.
You cannot ignore that.
Okay. I think we'll come back to the issue of tools so that then you can break it down to an ordinary parent who is at home and who may want to use the parental controls, but they may not be aware. Now, Stephen,
Yes.
we've heard about the advantages of children being, online. There's the issue of socialization, although maybe socialization in what sense? Is it the American socialization or the Kenyan socialization? And I think we'll come back to you. There's also the issue of innovation. And I'm just wondering, even as we see the internet as a very positive thing in our children's lives, are there risks faced by children when they're online?
There are risks that are faced. I think the general rule is, since the online world is a platform, just like the offline platform, there are risks involved. For kids especially, just like adults, we've had cases of adults being bullied online. For kids, it's actually more prominent, as we saw with the Consolata case of the student who was bullied and took it to social media. It blew up. It was such a big case. And a good number of times online. You find, because we are gladiators when you're behind your keyboard, your device. A kid will not be able to separate, or rather distinguish between who Steve so and so is online, because it's an online platform. I can set whatever name I want, and I will be able to bully someone from behind the screen without necessarily having to have physical contact. We have the sharing of adult material. As the Kenyan law states, anyone who's under 18 years old is considered to be a child. So in the offline world, you're not even supposed to be exposed to such materials. So what happens in the online world is it's easier to access materials, especially if your parent or your guardian or you're not sensitized to such. So it becomes easier for you to be exposed to such. We've got issues of online theft, identity theft. You've got issues such as online grooming. And online grooming, you can have, it happens where a child goes online, makes friends, because again, it's a platform. I'll be connecting to someone who's in the States, or just someone who's in the other side of the country, or just my neighbor, and I'll not know who exactly I'm connecting to. And eventually, I get to trust them as a child. And because of that bond, they eventually collect enough information. And because I trust them, the next thing they're going to ask me, hey, can we meet for coffee in town? Can you have your parents drop you at a certain mall, and I can buy you ice cream, I can buy you cake, I can, such. And, or I'm just outside your gate, can you come and say hi, such. And kids are generally excited and inquisitive. And there are so many risks involved, even to their parents, by just having the child online, which we rarely look at, but it's an unchecked risk, and I believe it is important that we get to look at such. Yes.
Do you want to add?
Yes, very interesting what Steve and Nashon are saying, because those threats are many, but also one thing I would want to say before I even enumerate the threats that are there to children is the fact that what we work on as the Internet Society is under the theme of what we call building trust online, because we want people to trust the internet to be safer, because they are safer online and they are freer to speak, they are freer to share information and innovate. But we have to realize that these risks apply to both adults and children. But we're making special efforts to protect children because they may lack the capability to protect themselves much less than adults do. Adults can make certain decisions and are free to maybe move better, protect themselves. Maybe you have access to a phone or a contact list of people you can actually ask for help from. So, which is why it's important that we intervene for children by not only equipping the children, but also we equip their parents. For example, the parental control case that my colleague Nashon mentioned involves very simple, interesting ways of doing it. Those tools may be there at the moment, but very many parents don't know. You can time how long your child uses.
Yeah, we'll come to the tools.
Yeah.
Just tell us the threat first,
Oh,
then we
yeah.
come to the tools.
Such as addiction, for instance, there are ways to deal with addiction. For both adults, but also for children, there are more specific ways. When it comes to things like pedophilia, the grooming that takes place is you do a little thing today, you dance, you get likes, you move to the next stage, and these cases have been there around the world. You have, Kenyans have been known to use CCTV cameras even at home. They call them nanny cams, and some of those they're able to watch the content from outside the house. So you're at work, so you want to see what your nanny is doing, if they're up to any mischief, and that they're watching your child or your house safely. That same CCTV device can be hacked into. That same content in some of the cases, and in very many cases, because what we have, there is a framework that helps us to check from the consumer side that your device is safe, but also we're encouraging manufacturers to manufacture devices that are not insecure in such a case, because that's one space where both adults and children are at risk, but then it is the adult who can take the step to ensure the CCTV is safe. The child has no control over that. The other skills that would come into play if we are talking about identity theft. Children in 2020 already have an identity online, digital identity. There is a child who's on Facebook, there is a child who's on Instagram. She's really happy to put photos of herself and her friends, or even the boys. They are there putting their own photos innocently. Maybe they're in school and they are having activities online. And one of the ways they get into this is through games. There is a game called Roblox. There is a game called Minecraft. And they are very popular. So what children tend to do is they play this game. In some of the places, they win. They win trophies, they win awards. But then they get more curious and they go to YouTube to try and see skills, cheats. Yeah. They are trying to get cheats online, or they watch this video where it's being streamed how to play. In the process, if you look at the linked content, the other content on their Facebook page, it will lead them into other content that may not necessarily be age appropriate. And those are some of the risks. And some of that content is really extreme in terms of what it is, but it's subtle. It's in animation. So if you're a parent, you're passing there, you see the child watching YouTube and it's a cartoon. Cartoons are innocent. They are not. They also have certain subtle content
Messages.
that is also, in a way, grooming the child into more and more unacceptable content for a child. And these challenges need to be known by parents and teachers, even because they spend a lot of time in school.
Okay, we'll come back to that on the issue of tools. You talked about addiction.
Yes.
And I know many parents are wondering how to deal with the issue of addiction. Because once you give, your child acquires a phone, they are ever on that phone. There are schools that allow like high school students to have the gadget in school. And you can even see them in traffic when they're in the school bus. All of them are glued, to their gadgets. How do we deal with this issue of addiction?
I think it stems from a culture. I think we also get quite addicted. We are addicted to our devices. You can actually do a self-test and see how many times you actually go to your device to check, your WhatsApp status, your Facebook feed, the likes. And this kind of culture, we usually pass it on to our kids. It's imminent that because they are younger, their brains kind of get wired faster to tech than the older generation. I mean, it will be easier for someone older to detach, but for a child, it becomes much more difficult because it's wired in the system. So we just completed the training that we went through that showed us some of the tools we could actually use. There are softwares we can even use to time how much time you want the kid to spend online. If it's an hour a day or 2 hours, it's already set. So once the timer is done for the day, it locks them out of the system.
Yeah, Steve, you're talking to an ordinary Kenyan who is not tech savvy, and you're telling them about this software that they can use to deal with the issue of addiction of the child using gadgets. Is there a simple one that an ordinary parent can actually use today without feeling like this technology is keeping them away?
I think the easiest way to desensitize your child from getting addicted, as one of the key issues we found out were that the parent has to be intentionally involved. So which means you have to desensitize your child. It's in parenting. You parent them offline and online, and how much time you want them to spend online. The good thing is with children, most of them do listen to their parents, and they will be able to take instructions. If I remember back in the days when there were we used to watch Cartoon Networks. You know, you'll get from school, once you get home, you'd first do your homework. You know, then watch cartoons for a certain period of time. Then you'd know exactly what time it will be for you to sleep. So a schedule is important, that the parents should come up with a schedule to enable your child not to get, or rather for better parenting, so that your child does not get hooked or addicted.
We'll continue discussing about the tools, because I think it's very important for parents and for guardians or teachers to actually understand, considering that even the new educational system is actually one of the uses is for kids to have tablets and to access the educational content online. And I have seen that some kids, when they go online, yes, they do their homework online, but the platforms also have like a social media section where they talk to their classmates. And we'll come back to that. You're watching Take on Tech, a weekly program on KBC television. This is a program that breaks down technological issues for you to see how you can engage with technology. Jane, what's happening on social media?
All right, let's get straight into it. Remember, the hashtag is Take on Tech. Every parent should instruct strict rules for online safety for their children. It is important for a child to know what they should not do and not share while on the online platform. And again, when it comes to children, how do you help them get to that place where they can be able to draw the line about what to share and what not to share? Our guests are going to be helping us with that. We have one more here. Let me quickly get it. They didn't, let me see. Yeah, there we go. Parental control means parents too. That is why more of books and less of gadgets. And finally, we have Kisali here who says every parent should it's still in regards to teaching your children what to share and what not to share while on the online platform. But then again, as one had asked, how do you draw that line? How do you help your child get to that place where they are comfortable enough to draw that line and know this is too much information that I'm sharing about me or about my family? Keep those questions coming in using the hashtag #TakeOnTech. We'll keep sampling them as they come in.
Thank you, Jane. And thank you so much to all our social media contributors. You've had the key question. How do we get children to draw the line on what to share and not what to share?
Well, the social media viewers have raised a very important issue on what to share and what not to share. You realize, for example, in the case of cyberbullying, maybe, for example, in a class, they have a social media group, maybe, for example, a WhatsApp group. And you realize that a kid, a bully, because they're behind the keyboard, as Steve said, they might decide to share a funny video of a fellow classmate. And that is cyberbullying. Now, one thing we have to do as parents is to instill the integrity to the children. Again, we talked about addiction and the amount of use we use on technology. Now, one of the things that a parent can do, because when you set the time limits, they might sneak on you, and I'm sure many of the parents here watching will attest to this, that they cannot, it is difficult to control, to get the children out of the screen. One of the things that you can do is to instill the discipline when they are still young. Many parents will say that even a 1-year-old kid will know how to use a smartphone. But one of the things that you can do as a parent is to teach the child to do creative things on the internet out in the physical world. And as a parent, you have to be there present. Do that with the child. You can get a video of a do-it-yourself video, building something, you watch on the internet, then go do it physically. There are so many such videos. Now, the child will appreciate the internet, not just as a tool of interaction and social things and that content. When they go to the internet, they grow knowing it's a tool to build something. They are able to apply it in real life. Now, when that child grows older and now they are teenager. And many parents will agree with me that it's difficult to control them in the phones. They have that integrity. Now, as a parent, you cannot evade this. It's critical for you to be there for your child, online and offline. We say online and offline safety.
Yeah, I think I like one of the social media participants who has said what parental control is all about is that you need to interact more with your children and less gadgets. And thank you, Nahashon, because then that takes us back to how can parents and teachers ensure that children are safe online. And I think it's time to talk about now the tools, break them down for the guardians and parents and teachers to understand. Very simple ones for people who are not tech savvy. Yeah.
I think we can start with YouTube for kids.
Yes, YouTube for kids.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so you basically create an account for your child, and it specifically shares child content only, which means it filters out anything that is for an adult. So it's the easiest. I've seen parents actually use it. It's easiest way to ensure that even as your child is getting entertained, in case they search for that song or that thing they had in school, that it's trending but it's not age appropriate, the page simply does not display it and displays an error, an age appropriation error, because the content is not appropriate for your child. Yes, so the easiest one is YouTube for kids. So I think from there we can advance
I believe even Amazon have something similar.
Yes.
On the Kindle, and I believe even Microsoft have the same. But it's the same thing. You open an account, you specify it's for the child. Just the same way when you're using even applications such as Netflix, and you have a free range of content on it. So there are profiles that you can set and specify that the content is not appropriate for a child at a certain age. But as Nashon had said earlier, the greatest tool is counseling and parenting. That we cannot supersede the power of that kind of software of spending time with the child. So parents and other caregivers such as teachers need to interact and share this information together. So some of the ways we are doing it is by training them on those tools. YouTube, Amazon, parental control. But if, let's say, you have one of the service providers such as, let's say, Safaricom or Airtel, and the system that they use to connect fiber to the home, they also provide a filtering facility on it. It enables you to sign up. Okay, you have to pay a little bit more, about 200 shillings, I believe, a month or something like that. Well, there's a figure to it. And if you activate it, it filters search for certain words that may be considered profanity. Those filters are there. So it is very important that you activate such facilities on your connection. Because it's not only on the device, it's also on your network as it comes in, if you have a Wi-Fi connection. If you have, maybe even on cable if you're using the same service provider. But on your phone, you also can install certain applications that enable you to do that. And other than YouTube for kids, you will find a range of many of those. But some of the content is sneaky. As we said, it comes with games. So it's very subtle. And the way to protect your child is to continue to monitor actively and engage with them and have that conversation, because there is some videos on YouTube called Gotcha, they're cartoons, and the kind of content you will, once a parent comes across it, you will start to agree you need to filter it out. So it's an active process to continue to filter out even what may seem safe, because it will not always be appropriate. What I would, however, say is the secret is not in denying children access. We are trying to make sure it is safe access. Denying them access is denial even for all of us, because these are children who have been born in a generation where they're already networked. The challenge is for them to develop the skills, but also because we are the first culprits when it comes to child safety. We are the ones putting them greater at risk because we don't even have the skills to protect ourselves. We are addicted as adults to the use of WhatsApp. We are the ones sharing content that is cyberbullying. Sorry, quite willingly. But we need to check ourselves so that to be able to do the same for the children.
Okay. It's quite interesting when you talk about, it's YouTube, it's the Kindle. And recently I have seen another addiction on something I didn't even realize that it's that addictive, or TikTok. And I think it's going to overtake YouTube in terms of, because I became interested and found out that they record themselves, they get a template, and they can put in different voices, they can put on lipstick, they can put on look like a rabbit. And I'm just wondering, are we prepared? Because like you're saying, some of these messages are sneaked in a very subtle way.
Yeah.
So are parents prepared for such new or emerging platforms? And if they are not, what's your message for them?
They are not prepared. That's why we are here. We are not prepared because, just a simple case, just to show why we are not prepared. Most people use the Gmail account, their Google account, for instance, for Gmail. And they also activate it, use it to search for maps when you're looking at traffic. And you maybe have never done a security check on your Google account, for instance, to see that you've enabled the monitoring of your location. So if I go back to your Google at the back and you leave it, in fact, people go to cyber cafes and they never log out. They come, I've come to print something or to scan something, I upload it via my Gmail. I forget to log out, I'm just in a hurry. Somebody else will come. They can track your location because you are signed in on your phone. I can tell you usually frequent KBC. And then it shows your greater timeline. Maybe you live somewhere in Nairobi, it shows your two key locations. One is home, the other is most likely work, and maybe an entertainment outlet. And it will even indicate the time when you spent most of your time there. So already you have an identity online that can be compromised or can be used. I can come and sit there and meet Steve and he had no idea.
Okay, can you tell parents how to get out of that? Because, your Gmail, it is also, required, like when you are signing on to WhatsApp.
Yes.
So then sometimes on YouTube. So you just find that you're linked from one platform to another, to another.
Exactly.
And true enough, once you arrive at a different place, like you go to Nyeri, it starts giving you the weather. Your phone starts giving you the weather for Nyeri, and you're wondering, I thought I have disabled.
Or if it is on Facebook, it tells you people you may know, simply because you spent your afternoon near somebody, you have no clue, but you can see this face, I saw it yesterday. And it surprises you that there is artificial intelligence at the back that is compiling an identity, a digital identity of you, based on your location and your behavior.
And so it's the same for children.
It is similar. I think we were sharing earlier where I think as parents we're also quite notorious for sharing our children's photos online,
and we label them.
And you write, you share, and even without necessarily having created a profile for your child, their profile already exists somewhere just by simply you uploading the photo and mentioning them in a post. We have to understand how some of these platforms
If I may interrupt, they're wearing school uniform that says they go to Riara Springs, and you're celebrating the birthday today, and the child is 5 years old.
And you're like,
that mathematics tells me their birthday, and they're in a certain school, and their name. So already I've built a profile just by observing a single post.
So parents, we can actually say that parents are also contributing unknowingly to insecurity of their children by consistently posting these pictures of birthdays, of trips, of I don't know what else, what they're eating.
It's
Do you want to comment, Nahashon?
What people have not appreciated is the usefulness of data. And data is actually money. You realize, for example, in Google Maps, the information that we get about traffic, it's not that Google develops that data. We give them by having so many phones congested in one route. Now, the same applies. Parents do not actually realize that this data that you are posting online about their children, someone somewhere, you do not know the cyber criminals when they will come. You don't know what they are doing. Someone somewhere is accumulating this data. You know, if I need to know something about you, I'll just go online and most probably I'll get 50% of what I need to know. And when I approach you, Steve talked about online grooming. When I approach you and I call you by your name, you'll be surprised and you'll be curious. I know your hobbies now. You'll be even more interested to know. Now, for an adult, you might have now the ability to discern that. But now imagine for a child, someone comes, what Wainena said, they come and they tell you, happy birthday. I know you're in real account. Now, what does that kid do?
Yeah.
They just trust that person. They know, they get curious. And that's how they get radicalized. You hear your child was good now, and maybe she was a Muslim, and another time they are confessing another different religion, another cult, because of that radicalization through online grooming. So data is very much important. Data is worth.
Okay.
People are actually selling data.
Okay. That's very interesting, because I was reading somewhere where somebody had this over 100 phones on a route, and they were all on, and they were creating traffic. You know, they were showing people on the map that there's congestion on that road, and I actually thought that's a very clever way of making sure that people are not frequenting that road and you can drive without traffic. Anyway, we are about to end. Please give your closing remarks, and we start with Steve.
I think as I said earlier, I'll repeat it, parents must become intentionally involved in their children's lives, offline and online. It is no longer, it's not the online platform's job to raise your child online. You're the best person. You have your child's best interest at heart. So you have to be actively involved in what they do, and get to sensitize them at an early age. And if you cannot, find someone to help you, because we are not going to bury this under the rug and pretend that it's not happening. It is happening, and it is important that parents are aware, and actively moving forward, they make decisions with an informed mind. Yes.
Thank you.
It is unfortunate that the internet was built for adults, but it became exposed to children. Now, that's where the parents come in. As Steve has said, I will reiterate, the parents have to be intentionally involved in their child's life as they would be involved on offline. Now, we do not need to be scared of the internet. It is a good thing. We need to embrace it. Again, I said, it opens door to innovation, which we very much need in this country at this time to build our economy. What parents need to know is to be curious. They also need to be curious as their children are curious. Many parents are saying that the internet or the technology is too hard for them, but it is actually the way that children learn, they can also learn. So that some of these things that we are talking here that sound like jargon, they'll be able to actually understand it. They'll be able to implement some of these things, like what we are saying, parental control, monitoring. They'll be able to implement those in a very simple way. Again, let us involve the kids to build positive things in the physical. That way, they will be able to appreciate the internet and use it.
Thank you.
Maybe in the spirit of the way we do it at the Internet Society, we believe in collaborative security. And that means we work together. And that's why even in the theme of the Safer Internet Day, it was Together for a Better Internet. So we all need to work together with teachers and parents, so that parents especially can join programs and even visit sites like the training programs on the Internet Society site, to learn how to secure their devices, if it is your nanny cam, if it is your computer, and yourself. Then do a safety audit of yourself first as an adult, and you'll be able to start to teach the child to be safe online. Kenyans have been known, I think it was a World Bank report that said the other day that we are one of the freest people in sharing our information online. And that needs to be checked. We need to be more cautious how we do it. And it will start with the adults so that we're able to protect the children.
Okay. Thank you so much, Wainaina Mungai from the Internet Society of Kenya. Thank you, Nahashon, from Safe House Africa. And thank you so much, Steve, from TunaPandaNet. That's it from us on child online safety. Parents, you've heard that you need to get involved in your child's lives and to also learn what it is that they are doing online. I now pass it over to Jane Wamboi to close the program for us. Jane?
All right, thank you, Grace. Let us be intentional when it comes to how we interact with our children, both in person and also on the online space. That is all the time we had for tonight's discussion. Thank you so much for being with us from the beginning till now. Remember to join us again next week for another edition of Take on Tech. My name is Jen Mamboy. Do have a lovely evening. God bless. See you next week.